just going to be hanging out here in my nursery for a little while, making new plants. So I thought I might take a few people along for the ride. Of course, it would help if my camera thingy wasn't messing with me, because dropping that kind of sucks. All right, there we go. All right, let's try this again. Hopefully it doesn't fall out. So right now I'm in my nursery. I'm just gonna be sitting here trying to get things going. Hi Emily, welcome in. So I'll be opening up my nursery hopefully September. It'll be by invitation only at the actual nursery, but I'll also be doing the local farmers markets. And well, frankly, I need a reasonable amount of plants, so that's what I'm doing. I'm propagating now. This is a really good time of year for me to be propagating, especially the way I'm set up, because I don't have a nice greenhouse or shade house. I have a tree. So get these stacked pots. And one of the things I need to do here is basically just sit here. And I know it's kind of a boring thing, but it does give me a chance to be able to live stream because I'm within distance of my Wi-Fi. Of course, I gotta kind of have it a bit on the closer side so that I can see what's going on in the chat. The other night I did one where I put it back so people could see exactly what I was doing, but then I can't see the chat and nobody can really hear me. So it's kind of catch-22. Hi, Nature Boys. Happy birthday. Let me grab these. Get these going. So let me turn this just a little bit here. There we go. That's a little better. I got a standard old school 4-inch pot. Thanks, Nature Boys. I appreciate it. And what I'm propagating right now is called Night Blooming Jasmine. It's fairly easy for me to propagate from cuttings, like 80-90% take rate. Sometimes I get lucky and get 100% take rate. Oh, message to review. Alright, I'm going to have to hide that right now, but make sure you leave a message on one of my longer videos so I can find you. I'll see what you're all about. Me, I'm mostly about plants with a little bit of fishing. No, it's just sitting here. No, I don't grow weed. Yes, I am gardening. Well, sorta. I'm propagating. So, just get this packed in. I got one of those there. And get a few of these packed up, and then I'll get the cuttings. I got a whole pile of sticks sitting here. I need a waste bin. Oh, there it is. just remember, when you're doing a job, set yourself up to actually do the job. A lot of times you end up having things that you may or may not need if you set yourself up properly. There are definitely some things I need. I need dirt, I need pots, and I need another pot for discard, like parts of the cuttings, leaves, things like that. And it doesn't go to waste. That goes to fertilize around my fruit trees and other plants. Get me a 6-pack going, one more, and then I'll... Always watch your pots. You never know exactly what you might find. Yesterday, while I was digging through here, setting up pots, I found a clutch of lizard eggs. So what I got here is night blooming jasmine. It is a very, very good plant for Florida or anywhere that is subtropical or tropical. It can take a freeze, but not a hard freeze. If you grow up in a protected area when you're a little farther north, maybe a south side next to a wall or somewhere where the wind can't get to it, it does pretty good. There are a few problems with it. For like example, every year I end up with all these leaves being tattered like this on the mother plant. And that's mostly because of the caterpillars. It doesn't kill the plant. As a matter of fact, as far as I can tell, it helps the plant because those caterpillars dump a whole lot of poop, which they call frass. So my night blooming jasmine does very well, and it propagates very well. I'm trying to get to more than a full 6-foot tray. I'm about 2/3 of the way there, and I've got enough cuttings here to probably go further than what I actually got. Well, the green here doesn't usually set, but sometimes it will. So if you're trying to produce a lot of plants and you don't have a lot of material, the semi-green worked fine. The green does not. What you're looking for is the semi-green to just below, but you don't want the super hard wood either. Although I've had ones that were hard old wood still take, because these things really want to live. Which is kind of why I'm choosing to use it. Is it's fairly easy for me to propagate, so it'll make a good foundation plant for the new nursery. I'm going to need more varieties. I only got about a dozen things that I'll be able to push out easy at this point. So I'm going to have to, and several of the plants that I actually intended on propagating, unfortunately, they have now decided it's invasive in Florida, and I am no longer permitted to propagate it. Doesn't mean I have to get rid of the plants I presently have. It just means I can't sell them. Hot this morning, even under the tree. Well, propagating figs isn't really that difficult. I do it from cutting. I've also done it from air layering. Now, I myself prefer to do it from cutting, and I like to take them. Sometimes I'll take them in the winter, and then I'll put them in the fridge. Hey, JH, welcome in, my friend. Let's see if I can fix this right here. Hey, JH, you're the only person that's in the chat right now that I know, so I turned you into a moderator. If anybody gets out of hand, 86 them. You don't have to accept it if you don't want. So, yeah, back on the figs. This time of year, I'll take a cutting and I'll let it sit and harden off for about a week or two. And then I just put it in soil, keep it in a cool, not overly moist, but moist soil under my tree like this. They can't take the direct sun. And because I'm in Florida, it's already high humidity. If you're in a lower humidity area, you might want to put them in a humidity box. They like their humidity. You don't want it too humid. You got to watch for mold. But generally speaking, figs are pretty easy to propagate from cutting. As far as the best manner is the one that works for you. Me, it was cuttings. I've done air layering. I've done ground layering. They're all about the same, but I can get a lot more done from cuttings than I can from layering. It's a matter of what I have around. These cuttings here on this, I'm generally doing. Oh wait, no, yours is probably about the figs, right, Emily? So generally speaking, about 6 inches, 6 to 8 inches, and you want the hardwood. New growth tends to rot on me. Let's see which way's up. That way's up. Thanks, JH. I appreciate it. Yeah, the other people that I generally have mod, they're more night people. I can guarantee you most of them are sleeping. JH, if your mulberry doesn't make it, you let me know. I've got plenty. Might not be the same variety. If I remember correctly, you grew yours from seed. I can definitely find a way to get one in your hands. Be careful though, mulberry collecting becomes addictive quickly. All right. So one of the things I do when I'm doing these is I strip most of the leaves off, not all. It's a good indicator for me to see how well it's doing. So when I get to a tip like this, I will leave a few. All right, that's a 6-pack. Oh, I'm probably going to burn up a good amount of dirt today. Oh, I need more room. These all have a designation other than here, but so that I stay on camera instead of picking them up and walking off and being gone for 2 or 3 minutes. I'm just going to stack them up right there for now. Hey, Emily, that's not bad. You know, and it changes for me from year to year. You know, some years I have a near 100% take rate on my mulberries. Last year, out of 1,600 that I set up to propagate, and the weather kind of changed on me in a bad way, I only got like maybe 50 that took. That's okay. This year, I've got about 130 of them that I've taken so far. That means around 130 people in my local area will have mulberries in their yard next year. So I've been watching, I've got cardinals, and one of the varieties I have is semi everbearing. It's Bryce Garland's World's Best. It's very similar to the Illinois everbearing, not the dwarf Illinois everbearing, but the Illinois everbearing. And right now it's got mulberries on it. It'll have small amounts of mulberries on it all summer. And I have a group of cardinals that come in every single day and sit out there and eat them berries. So if you happen to like cardinals, plant a mulberry. Now, it's not the only birds that'll find it. As a matter of fact, titmouse, whole flocks of titmouse in the spring come and get into this mulberry tree that I'm sitting up underneath right now. And boy, they make a mess quick. Sorry to hear that. Moving, moving can be stressful. I know at some point I'll be moving from here. I don't know where. I don't know when. But one day I'll be leaving this area. But until then, I'm going to try to fill as many homes in this area with fruit. Food on the landscape. Teach people how to garden in Florida. We're expecting about another 100,000 people to move into my county in the next year. I'm not very happy about that. I've discovered through observation that all this expansion never benefits the locals. It usually displaces them. Nah, I'm going to say maybe desert roses, Emily. And angel trumpets, as much as I'd like to propagate those, are now considered illegal to plant in Florida. Again, if you already have it, they're not going to come in and destroy it like they did with citrus a few years back. But I won't legally be allowed to sell it. However, it does do pretty good in the gardening circles with old ladies trading it amongst themselves, which the state of Florida desperately wants to shut down, but there ain't really a whole lot they can do about it. They can try, but all they'll end up doing is causing problems for people that end up causing problems for them. The Floridians are kind of strange. The government comes by and starts making your life miserable. We generally don't take it. We go make that person's life miserable in exchange for whatever they've done to us. I think Texans have that in common with us. Where I live now used to be considered a small town in the middle of nowhere. And now it's the second largest city in Central Florida. Which is kind of weird. Of course, Orlando, where I'm originally from, used to be a little cow town in the middle of nowhere in the swamps. And now it's Disney, Universal Studios, you know, tourist industry, hotels, construction. It's always under construction. Little towns that were out on the outliers like St. Cloud and Kissimmee, Narcoossee, aren't little anymore. Narcoossee was so small that they didn't actually have a police department, school. They had a volunteer fire department so that they had something out there. Now, almost like 100,000 people that live there. Yeah, me too, JH. How there's still a lot of snowbirds that come into here. So during the winter, traffic is really bad, and then it uh, tapers down in the summer. It used to be in the summer, this town emptied out. Now, well, ever since COVID, a lot of people didn't go back up north. They just stayed here. So even during the summer, when the snowbirds are up, traffic is getting bad. Let's see, I got another 6 to do. I see little sticks like this one, but the wood is the right color, will often take. I'm not going to waste my time on it today. And the cut you need, which should be at a 45 if you can do it, should be right below a node. So here's my node. Should be something like that. Go up 6 inches or so. And give it a cut. Oh, I understand that. We don't get a lot of Cali here. We get a lot of New York and New Jersey. Depending on what part of New York they're from. So I have discovered that the people in upstate New York are much more like Appalachians, where the people in the city, they tend to cause from the city, they tend to cause problems. I'm not entirely sure why that is, but there's a saying here in Florida: "Come to Florida on vacay, leave on probate," and that mostly applies to people out of New Jersey and New York because they come down here, they cause problems, and the state of Florida is more than happy to tax them for the next couple of years on probation, because really that's all it is a way for the local municipality, especially Daytona Beach, to make some coin. Gotta trim this down a little. I think I will use this one. This one's all kind of weird. So I figure I'll probably get about maybe two and a half dozens of these this morning. And once they're rooted, I'll sell them for $10 a piece. If they get bigger and I have to up pot them, then the price goes up. And they grow pretty fast. Let's see, I've got probably about 3 dozen of them now. And all I'm really doing is my mother plant is massively growing and it needs to be trimmed. And I'm just taking and trimming it like I normally would, although it's going slower instead of going over there and just trimming the whole thing. So I trim a few off, I come out here, I propagate them. Make sure you put your cuttings in the pot in the right direction. All right, I'm gonna have to dip for a second so that I can get this dozen on its tray. It's gonna take a moment. I'm gonna have to move the camera because it's literally blocking the area. So I'm gonna turn it to where I can kind of sort of be seen where I'm going. Maybe. There we go. So the trays that I built for myself are made out of old roof pans. Because I got really tired of having to buy trays every year. All right, so I now have Emily. As far as the nursery goes, I literally got properly licensed for it this year. As far as a gardener, I've been doing it for over 30 years. Uh, I also work in a hydroponic farm. I've been doing that for a couple of years, although at one point I actually had my own hydroponics going, and that'll be coming back. Um, I've got most of the materials. I've set it aside for a couple of years now. All right, so if I remember correctly, Jade, you're in Texas. and they generally recommend planting. See, if one I would plant then I if it's all rocky there, then I would keep it in a large pot. Um, Generally speaking, if you plant it in the ground and you trim it down in the fall before it starts to freeze, you cover it with straw. It'll protect it and it'll come back. But if the ground is bad for it, then you've either got two choices: growing it in a very large pot, something like what I'm using here, which I know plenty of people all the way up in the Chicago area that do that, although they have a variety called Chicago Hardy that'll grow up there. Or you do a lot of amendment to your soil, which means testing your soil to find out where its acid level is. Is it acid? Is it alkaline? And then correcting it appropriately. And then you got to keep on up on that. Now, see, I have sand. It's Florida. It's beach sand. Now, my yard isn't beach sand, but it took 10 years for me to get it where it's at now, which is a lot better than most people here in Florida, but it's still sand. It's just sandy loam now. When I started, I had some parts that were very acidic and some parts that were very alkali. And I have found that adding copious amounts of mulch, biochar, wood ash in the acidic areas, and sulfur in the alkali areas balanced it out. But it took a long time. And all the wood chips basically sucked all of the nitrogen out of the system. So for like 3 or 4 years, if it wasn't a nitrogen fixer, it wouldn't grow. Now it's to the point where most anything I put that's not a super high feeder will grow without me having to make any amendments. Now, that being said, since I grow a lot of tomatoes and they're heavy feeders, I feed them a lot of fish emulsion. Now, the fish emulsion I use on my fruit trees as well, and it's something your father might want to do, is to make a fish emulsion spray. And when his fig is going real well, not when it has fruit on, after the fruit has come off or before the fruit has set. And most figs tend to set their fruit and put their leaves on at the same time, so you wait until after the harvest. You just hit it with this fish emulsion spray, and it will massively increase your growth. It's nothing particularly fancy. I use the Alaskan brand if it's not something that I'm personally making, because I make a lot of my own. One of the things to watch with it is sometimes it is a little high on mercury because you're using fish, and the Alaskan fish emulsion is made from salmon, and salmon can be high in mercury. The way I've dealt with this particular problem, because I had an area of my yard actually test out high in mercury, was a mushroom. I went and I got a box of oyster mushroom. It's just literally a box meant for you to be able to home grow a small batch of white oyster mushrooms. I took that and I filled that area with wood chips like I normally would, and then I crumbled that in and mixed it up. And I had oyster mushrooms popping up all over the place. The following season, I had it tested, and the mercury levels had gone down lower than the background areas. So, nice little trick there I picked up. If you have heavy metal issues, get oyster mushrooms going in your yard. They'll take care of it for you. Nope. nature has a tendency of always finding a way. Hey, pest hunters, long time no see, man. Welcome in. What I'm doing is just propagating some plants. I had a few days here, not that long ago, that it just rained. Florida. We had a tropical low forming over us, and then it went up to the Carolinas. So I was a couple of days before I was going to have a state inspector out here, and what they're looking for is invasive weeds and insects, and to make sure that you're not selling what they consider an invasive weed. So naturally, it rains for like 3 days before he comes out. Every possible weed seed I had out here popped up. I was out here at 6 o'clock in the morning before he was coming with a headlamp, because it wasn't quite light yet, out here picking every weed I could get and looking for bugs. I didn't find any bugs. This kid that they sent out, yeah, I'm not meaning to insult him in any way, because he's a nice guy, but he's also a kid. New. He walked in here, looked at plants, said plants were good, inspected, asked me a bunch of questions, real beginning level questions, stuff that any gardener that's been gardening for any period of time should be able to answer. And finds the only bug in the entire nursery in like 10 seconds flat upon him starting to look. I mean, it was no time at all. All of a sudden, he just starts bending over and flipping over leaves, and he looked at literally every single plant. Now, there's about 300 plants in here right now. He looked at every single one in less than 5 minutes and immediately found the only bug in here. Fortunately, it's not on their list of problems, but it is on my list of problems. Let's see. Well, any gardener that knows their worth will recognize those guys. Now, I'm telling you, those weren't there 2 hours before he came. Of course, there were the ants. It's always ants in Florida. Now, the way I tend to deal with these is I just squish them. I guarantee you they're here because of the ants. But that's one of them ones that's pretty easy to take care of. Insecticide soap will take care of it, no problem at all. Neem will take care of it. Dawn dishwashing liquid will take care of it. You don't have to do anything fancy. Like I said, I tend to squish them. But if there's too many, then a tablespoon of Dawn dishwashing liquid in a gallon of water, spray them down. They won't be there for long. They literally suffocate on the bubbles. ready for do another 6-pack. Let's move this over. There we go. All right, I got a little bit of dead up here on this one that needs to go bye-bye. I gotta trim one of my pear trees today. I walked by it yesterday and noticed that it's got a fire blight. So I gotta take care of that pretty much ASAP, because that'll spread through the air. If you get fire blight, the best thing is to get it off your property. I burn it. I'll be taking those cuttings off and immediately burning it. And to help prevent it from spreading any more on that plant, I will be spraying a sterile solution on the cuts, and then I'll be putting a piece of cheese wax over it to keep it sealed so that it will heal. Now, I do the cheese wax thing because I happen to have an ant in this area that likes to attack anything that's in the rosacea family. Roses, apples, pears, anything in the rosacea family. When it has an open cut, it'll burrow a hole right down the center and go make a nest inside of it. Hate that ant. So I'm real close to having one of my homemade 6-foot trays full of night blooming jasmine, and that's been my goal. I started on it, I'm gonna say 2 nights ago, because I didn't get out here and work last night. I'm kind of making up for that right now by being out here in the heat. But if you think about it, I'm going to probably, when all's said and done, I'm probably going to have about 150, 200 of these when all's said and done, at $10 a piece. That starts to add up. When they get up potted to the half gallons will be $20 a piece, which is still cheaper than the local stores. But them little half gallons, they eat a lot more dirt, and that's really where I don't like to pot up beyond a 3-gallon, because of the sheer amount of dirt it takes. If I gotta drop $100 in soil to fill up a pot, then I'm not really into that. I'm more into the plants. And a lot of the local nurseries around here, you'll go in, they'll have 100 palm trees at 100-gallon, starting at $350 for a native plant that you can just get on the side of the road. And most of that's because you're paying for the dirt in that big pot. Then if it happens to have something that's actually worth money in it, it's not uncommon for somebody to pay a couple grand for a palm tree here, because they have to have a palm tree of a certain size, especially in some of the designer communities where you're allowed to have your palm trees and everything. But they don't want you to put no little 3 or 6 footer in. They want you to drop a 20-foot tree in. Well, that costs a lot of money. I don't really want to do that one anyway. Alright, that's another 6-pack. I'll start working on another. I'll get another solid dozen. See if I can get them all on that tray. I'm not sure. I think I have room for 8 or 9 left. Okay, well, these two pots are stuck together nice and proper. Well, I didn't want to come apart. So one of the things that the state of Florida keeps asking me when it comes to this nursery is, when am I going to start shipping out of state? Do I want to ship out of state? I mean, this has come up probably about 24 times. Right now, I just plan on doing for locals. I'll ship in state. I don't want to have to jump through a whole bunch of hoops to ship out of state. That being said, if I get big enough, yeah, I'll probably start to. Oh, let's see. So, one thing I know for sure is I won't be shipping to California. From what I understand, either New Mexico or Nevada has to have every plant inspected by the state, my state, before it's shipped. Immediately before it's shipped. Not like, oh, they came through and inspected the nursery, like what happened the other day. But that individual plant was quarantined and inspected and then shipped. Well, from what I understand, that cost me $50 for the inspection for one plant. Not all the plants, one plant. Plus another $30, and this part here fluctuates because they're literally going to charge me for the price of the gas to come see me. So that part fluctuates because gas prices go up and down. Then I got to pay for the shipping to ship it there. You know, I'm not going to jump through a whole bunch of flaming hoops. So that ain't going to happen. Now, because Florida is quarantined due to a bug called root knot nematodes, all my stuff has to be up off the ground. Now, that doesn't apply if you happen to be selling it locally, but I don't want to be the reason why people have that particular problem, although most of us have that problem. So I do meet the requirements to be able to ship out of state. And I was thinking about certain plants being able to be shipped, maybe just in the South. Love it when I find things I can't identify. But that's a whole nother set of inspections. And I'd have to figure out the shipping and all that good stuff. Which kind of makes things a little bit on the difficult side. But I don't want to go jumping through all them type of flaming hoops at the beginning of establishing a nursery. Because ultimately I'm going to have a nursery and a farm. One of the things I'm planning on doing this fall is starting a whole bunch of tomatoes. I grow a lot of tomatoes every year. This year I sold a lot of tomatoes. When I start all these tomato plants, I want to have a whole bunch of tomato plants that are ready and size appropriate for planting season. And then I'll be at a farmer's market and I'll have both the tomatoes themselves so people can try true heirloom tomatoes, not the stuff that they sell at the box store. And if they like it, they can turn around and they can buy their own plant. It's a simple concept, And I'm not the one that invented it. First person I ever saw do it did it over in DeLand. And that was over 30 years ago. But since the box stores put a lot of small companies out of business, I don't know of anybody that's doing this here. Like, nobody is doing this here. So that's exactly what I'll be doing. Is I'll have the plants. Oh, I ain't getting rid of my bees and butterflies. Got a beehive right over there. It's another thing I was expecting the state to complain about. They didn't say a word. Lucky me. So I'm finding that every time I sit down and do a round of propagation on the level that I'm doing it, I burn up 2 bags of dirt every single time. It's a little more, or a little less than what fills up this pot here that I'm using just to be able to stuff this. It's supposed to be sterile. It's got plants growing in it. The inspector kid was kind of funny. He asked if I wanted to send my night blooming jasmine in so that he can get an exact identification on it. I know what it is. And it's not so uncommon that I couldn't just look up the actual Latin name of it. Although I do want to get another variety. I've been seeing other varieties in the classic version, which is the white. Welcome in, Lacey. Hope you're doing well too. So there are varieties I haven't seen in the classic night blooming jasmine with yellow flowers and red flowers. Let's see. That's one of the things I'm planning on doing with the night blooming jasmine is a particular packet. It won't be one plant, it'll be 2. One will be a night blooming jasmine for nighttime pollinators, and the other will be a firebush, native Florida firebush, for daytime pollinators. They have very similar flowers, although opposite colors. If I can get people to put those in their yard, nighttime pollinators get a whole lot of action, daytime pollinators get a whole lot of action. Hummingbirds and the hummingbird moths love both. All right, let's see. Let's go ahead and get this finished out. I'm almost done with what I got here. Another package deal I'll be doing will be a food forest starter pack. And that one doesn't want to cooperate. What that's going to consist of is 2 types of mulberry trees, with any luck, fig trees. If I can get approval, Mexican sunflower, because that's recently been put on the invasive list. However, the variety I have is sterile. So I got to find out whether or not that is. Pigeon peas, both of those are for nitrogen fixtures. I'd love to throw an orange tree in there, but with the citrus greening and other issues, and the fact that I'd have to jump through so many flaming hoops, it's not even funny. they've pretty much put the citrus industry out of business here in Florida. When I was a kid, citrus was king, and now it's barely alive. I'm also going to have beautyberry in that packet. It's a good native plant. I'd like to add mango and avocado to that, along with a couple ground covers. There's a ground cover I used to grow called African potato mint. I'd like to have that in there. I don't presently have any African potato mint, but I know where to get it. The ground cover I had originally chose to add to that, it's just a ground cover. It's not an edible. Where the African potato mint, you can dig up the potatoes, but they're tiny. They're edible. They're tiny. They go dormant in the winter. That's when you harvest them. I wanted to add, instead of having that, having something that just was ground cover year round. It's salt tolerant, it's heat tolerant, it's mow tolerant. Oh, you're always welcome, JH. Feel free to ask me anything you ever want. No, I don't do electroculture. I do permaculture. That being said, there has been some proof that electroculture works. However, knowing copper the way I do, and that copper is a fungicide, and I'm trying to cultivate funguses in my soil and a fungal network, I don't want a lot of copper sticking in my ground, because then it's going to sterilize a certain amount of the area around it as the copper atoms disperse into my soil, especially considering I have electrolytes in my soil because I'm in a coastal environment. So I really don't want to sterilize my soil by having the flow of electrons in copper flow out into my fungal network. So no, I don't do electroculture. Now, in some environments, it probably works fantastic. In this coastal environment where I am presently at, it will definitely pump ions out of the atmosphere and into the ground, which is what they're looking at to do with electroculture. However, it will do it so effectively that it will kill my microbial and fungal network that I've spent over a decade building. So no copper. Love the concept. Probably does fantastic in other areas. Oh, and at one point I used to be an electrician, so I understand the concept very well. It's just not what I need. All right, these guys are getting pretty small. These ones here are much smaller than I prefer, so I'm just going to shove 2 of them in a pot so I can finish this up, increase the chances of it going. Like that. I need another one. Make sure I'm going in the right direction here. Come on. More. All right, that brings me to another dozen plus one. Whoops. All right, well, thank you everyone for coming in. Pest Hunter, it's really great to see you in. JH, thank you very, very much. You know how to get a hold of me. If you have any questions about anything, please just let me know. If I don't know it off the top of my head, I'll go look it up for you. Lacey, it was nice meeting you. Thanks for coming in. Anyone else that happens to be hanging out, thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and cut it and get these in place, and then I guess it's off to one of our local nursery stores because I found I am running out of soil. I've only got maybe 8 bags left, and I'm going to need a lot more. And they're running a sale at 60 cents a bag right now, so I'm going to get over there and get it while I can. Y'all have a great day.